There's never been a better time than now to stop what you're doing and tune in to Straight Up, TAB Radio's weekly podcast that will guide you through the difficult journey that is the punt. Whether it be racing or sport, the Straight Up team has your back. Now, from the studios of TAB Radio, welcome to Straight Up.
Thank you, TJ. Welcome along, Rylie Morgan.
Marty Young.
Bit warm out there, 2 up for racing, 38.7 if you're just joining us. Racing off today.
It is. It was off yesterday. It's off today, and there's every chance, Mark, just taking a look forward at the forecast, that it's off next Wednesday as well.
Would you go the early start?
You'd think so. You wouldn't want to lose a third meeting in 7 days. Already lost a couple regionally as well due to the heat at Esperance and Geraldton as well over the past 10 days or so. It's been a massacre for our race meetings here in the West with the heat.
McGuane gets past Brown. They're lifting the pies. They can sense it. McGuane's had 5 bounces. Nearly get another one. Round he goes. And he goes to an open goal. Micky McGuane, goal of the year.
Mick McGuane joins us on Straight Up for this AFL preview thanks to Dankz Furniture.
You won't see better than that.
With 6 local stores in the metro area, there's one near you.
Yes, he's here for Dankz Furniture. Mick McGuane, a very good afternoon.
G'day, Marty. Hello, Rylie.
Mickey, how are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks, guys. Starting to heat up over here now that the Australian Open is completed. And all the focus is now to talk about AFL footy, because before we know it, games will be upon us.
Geez, they're going down like 10 pins at the moment, these injured players. Bring us up to date. What's the latest?
Yeah, well, I was at Collingwood yesterday watching them train, and I was a little bit concerned when I saw Jordan De Goey on a couple of occasions sort of reach for his calf, and I thought, well, that's not a good sign. Then he happened to go off and then didn't come back on. I thought, might have gave this a bit of a tweak or a bit of a strain, but he obviously had some scans post that training session. The news come through last night that it's not too bad and pretty well all clear. So I'll get there tomorrow again and watch the Pies and see if he does grace the park, and I could possibly flick you guys an update to give you listeners over there in Western Australia an update about Jordan De Goey's state, whether he's out there training. They'll go the conservative route and keep him inside.
I saw an interview that he did, might have been yesterday, Mick, where he stated that he feels like a new athlete with this off-season that he's had leading into 2025.
Well, he looks that way, Rylie, because last year he just didn't play with any power. And the thing that separates him from others, when he goes forward, he's got that burst of speed and becomes a match winner. I'll never forget that game a few years back now where he changed the game in the fortunes of probably 15 minutes when he went forward against the Eagles. And he kicked 3 really impressive goals as a forward. And it was the power and the separation that he got because of that power. He was able to do that. And he did not have that at all last year. And if your GPS data would suggest that he'd be running around 25, 26 kilometres per hour, well, that's not quick enough for a midfielder or burst up forward. And I reckon watching him over the last 3 to 4 weeks, he's probably getting to those low 30 speeds, which is more Jordan De Goey. If he can get to 33, 34, he's fixed. And I reckon right now with the conservative build-up he's had and just building into the match simulation that we witnessed yesterday, it tells me he's not far away from that power that we saw probably 2 years ago.
Got to say, just in his face in that interview, just saw the shorts on Channel. See, he looks so healthy, didn't he? He looked really, really healthy. He must have had a terrific pre-season. I want to ask you about the Pies, about this group of players, and if you can give us an update where you think they are. So we know they've got a really good, solid base of veteran players and good players there. But tell me about these. DeMattia, Parker, Allen, McRae, Gieth, go down to West, Long, Hayes, apart from any of the kids that they've just drafted this year.
Yeah, well, out of that group, Matty has been training okay. I'm not sure whether he's ready for AFL footy. I think Allen is the most likely candidate. He's well-bred, isn't he? He's a star. Played a lot of footy against Benny, and he was a terrific player at Hawthorn, and obviously cut the mustard over there as a leader and a captain of the Fremantle Dockers. And the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree, and I think they'll give him every opportunity to grow and promote his development pretty quickly. He looks a likely type, there's no question about that. Good size, covers the ground well, and I think they'll introduce him at various stages to be that next generation midfielder possibly coming through. Out of that other group, they're sort of work in progress, and they're really in that development stage, a lot of them. Are they cut for AFL footy right now? If Collingwood are healthy, the answer to that's no. McRae's the one that's probably on everyone's lips at the moment. I reckon he's a little bit flat-footed and pedestrian. He knows how to find the footy. He's like his older brother, who's just a ball magnet, who's left the Western Bulldogs to go to St Kilda this year. But in saying that, Finn McRae goes to VFL footy. He's a bit like, what's his name that went from Carlton to St Kilda? Paddy Dow.
Paddy Dow.
On the footy at VFL level. And then all of a sudden introduced himself to AFL footy. He was just probably rung below the expectation. And he's a bit like that at the moment. If he does get a chance, he'll try to give it everything he's got. We know that. He does work hard. Just his flat-footed nature and the speed and the explosive nature. As we know, it's an up-and-back game now, fellas, and as a midfielder, you've got to get up and down that ground in transition. And that's probably where everyone's hoping that Dan Houston can go to at Collingwood. But Port Adelaide used that experiment 3 years ago, and it didn't work through the middle of the ground. He just hasn't got that transition run in his legs. Leave him where he plays his best footy. He's an all-Australian halfback flanker, and he sets up the ground beautifully with his precision ball, which I watched him last Friday, and he was best on ground by a mile, just in terms of getting the ball, giving him the ball, and then when he did with it, the ball went from back to front at rapid speed because of who kick-started their offence, and it was Dan Houston on a number of occasions. And that's digressing away from your question a little bit, Marty, but at the end of the day, I reckon Allen is the only one out of that group that you'd probably confidently say he could be a 200-game player.
Yep, I think he's a really nice prospect for Collingwood heading into 2025 with the weapons that he has got and his development still to come as well. And Dan Houston going to be a terrific addition to that half-back line at the Pies as they look to right the wrongs of 2024 this upcoming season. Mick, very disappointing news out of the North Melbourne Footy Club earlier today with George Wardlaw going down for up to 3 months with another hamstring injury. A very worrying history of soft tissue injuries for him dating back to his draft year continues.
Yeah, I was gutted when I heard that news. I watched North Melbourne train last week early in the week, and just watching him train, gee, you thought, wow, this player's going to grab the competition by storm. I just love the way he went about it at times last year when he was healthy. Hard, uncompromising, works both ways, loves to shut down the opposition quickly when they get the ball through defensive intent and tackle intent. He's fierce in the contest, as we know. He's a mini Joel Selwood when he first come on the scene. I'd sort of give the example of he's just tough and uncompromising, and I just love the way he goes about his footy. He's got some tricks as well. He can kick a long goal. He penetrates the game with his depth. Probably seen the game before him. He's still got a work in progress because he's certainly missed some targets going inside 50 like most of the North Melbourne midfielders did last year. Even LDU was probably guilty at times of that. But in saying that, when I heard that he might miss a 10 to 12-week period because of this hamstring issue, it's a serious concern for a young man that's so explosive and relies on that power for the way he plays. Let's hope he gets right and has a fair run with the green going forward, because they certainly need him, and I reckon he's one player that we pay money for to go through the turnstiles to watch.
So what does that do then to North Melbourne as far as their group going forward?
Well, it's just one of those generation players you'd love to see. McKercher and, say, Sheasel and Wardlaw form a combination of a threesome to continue to play weekly and to get that consistency and familiarity around the midfield. They've got LDU. He'll stay there. I reckon Simpkin will spit out to a half-forward flank and come up to saturate stoppage because he's such a good transition runner. Luke Parker, he's been recruited to give leadership and experience, so he could be a centre-bounce player but also start forward to come up to be a rotating mid. I've got no doubt Sheasel's going to play around the ball. I want to see him around the ball because he gives them something they haven't got, and that's creativity and good decisions. He doesn't have to run straight to penetrate the game. I love players sometimes who buy themselves some time and space and crab left or crab right before they make a rush decision to ensure they get the right decision before they execute. And McCurch is the other one who I think is going to be a player that could play half-back wing. Alistair Clarkson will clearly put him inside the contest at various stages to complement the other two that's in there. And he gives them a bit of zig and zag as well to buy time with the ball once he wins possession in congestion. And let's face it, when you watch him play, they want to give him the ball because when you watch him at training, you can see why, because he just cuts the ground in half by the way he uses the ball so effectively, and he sees options that others don't. And I love that in a midfielder who's got creative nous but can execute the decision he's looking for.
Mick, a club we've spoken about pretty profusely over the past couple of weeks on this program, St Kilda. Now, is their season over before it's even begun with the injuries that have mounted there? We were only speaking, I think, last week or the week before at how it was the potential for a breakout season for Matthias Philippou, with how the reports have been in terms of how he's been training. He's gone down. Rowan Marshall's gone down with a stress fracture in his pelvis. And for a big fella, a ruckman, that sounds like a really worrying injury to have to carry through this part of the pre-season as we get into it, or closer to round one. It's really panic stations at the Saints now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I didn't have him in the 8, and I won't pick him in the 8 crystal ball stuff going into the season when we all do it from a media standpoint. But this has made their task even more difficult. I admire Marshall greatly. He's an undersized ruckman, but has a massive heart and competes really strongly, can go forward and influence the game as a forward when he's not rucking. The other one you didn't mention is Dougal Howard. There's a bit of concern over them, and with the loss of Battle, you'd suggest that he would have been a mainstay down back to complement Wilkie. They might use Caminiti in that role now, who can play forward but might have to go back. Who is their relief ruckman? That's a big question and a topic of conversation as well. But they need their best players on the park consistently. You look at their forward line and you say, well, they've got Max King, who played, 12 games last year and kicked 19 goals. Bought on good dollars. You want a far greater return from a person that's going to draw the footy as consistently as what he does. And he needs support. They've lost Membry, who kicked 30 goals. He's gone to Collingwood. And you just ask yourself where their goal's going to come from. Everyone talks about their concern over their ball movement, but I reckon Ross Lyon's trying to invigorate their ball movement. I thought they played quick at times last year. They got it right in that late game against Geelong when they turned the scoreboard around really quickly and a comprehensive victory. And that's the template they got to work towards, is a consistent way of attacking the game and using the ball. But they didn't use the ball effectively going inside 50. I think their retention kick was pretty low throughout the course of the year when they went for that money kick, the one outside forward 50 into the forward line. They've just got to get better at that to give their forwards an opportunity to mark the footy and convert those chances. But
okay. Mick,
it's disappointing. The good players are going to miss.
Just hold it there. We're back to Micky McGuane for Dankz Furniture. Mick, and when we have our chat about pacing later on, I want to touch on the AG Hunter Cup. Looks a terrific race on Saturday night. I know you'll be across that. Yes.
Now, Mick, we have spoken about, I guess, these players that are dropping like flies seemingly at the moment as these stronger blocks of match simulation at each club really ramps up. In recent days, Mick, just listening to other avenues of media, particularly AFL media, it's ignited the discussion whether players perhaps get a little bit too much time off in the postseason and following their first block of pre-season training, and whether the S&C staff are in turn under the pump to get enough loading into these players over the early stages of pre-season in order to condition their bodies for the return to match simulation in January. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Riley, because I think the AFLPA, representing the players, they've just got too much to say now, and they're basically dictating to the competition in relation to how many weeks a player has off, either post-A-season going into a pre-Christmas campaign, then over the Christmas period, and then how many days off they have going into a season. Then once the season starts, you've got to have so many days off in the week of match to match. So they've got some, I reckon, challenges to get it right, because there's always been that debate. A coach wants to do some brand work because there's an issue of their game. The sports finance guy says, oh, hang on, we've got to recover, we can't afford to do that. And then you say, well, why haven't we got the loads in them? It's because the AFL rulings are saying right now we can't get the rulings into them. When we get them back, we have to rush the intensity phase of the training into them, and that's conducive to breaking a few down, unfortunately. So I think the perfect answer is everyone should get in a room. What's the ideal template? Listen to sports science people at Clubland. And for us to actually have players that we want to see on the park rather than in the grandstand, they might be able to say we don't need an 8-week period from post-season to another. And the other thing is that I think is pretty critical is everyone says you finish late. You have to have a long week or a long period off going into the next pre-season. But when you finish late, you're match hardened and you're playing finals footy, which increases the intensity. And if you're a club that finishes at the end of August and don't play in finals, you then have a 2-month or 3-month period off in some cases. And if you haven't got the high performance standards as a player and you train consistently, you can get left behind pretty quickly. Then you're trying to play catch up, and I'll guarantee you more often than not, you're the bloke that falls down and breaks down. Mm-hmm. So the advantage you get by finishing late, as much as people say, oh, you need to rest them, it's that residual fitness that you keep, and then you go into the pre-Christmas period, sort of still match hardened in a way, even though you can lose a little fitness, 2-week period from a muscle standpoint. But if you've trained late at high intensity because you're in the finals and you played finals footy, that's the reason why you might see some clubs historically who play late in one year don't have many injuries the next year because they haven't had that 3-month period off in preparation for their next season.
Can we take you back to Collingwood? Nick Dacos, from what we saw, some footage this week. Now, you've watched him train. He seemed to be moving beautifully, some footage that I saw last night.
Yeah, I spoke to someone at Collingwood. I said, what's up with Dacos? And he said, no, he's all right. We just monitored his loading. He had a bit of an issue with the plantar fascia, but the way I've witnessed him train Wednesday, he was in there doing some craft stuff this morning inside. He'll train again tomorrow. He'll be ready to rock and roll. Okay. Whether they play him in the early games, who knows, as in preparation games, call them match simulation games. They'll use him a little bit, but come game one, he'll be ready to rock and roll against GWS for sure. Okay, Mick,
from a strategy point of view, you've got 3 teams that I think a good start is paramount, particularly when you have a look what they did last year. One is Collingwood. Remember, off the premiership hangover, they were putrid for the first month. Hawthorn went 0-5. The Dockers, we thought they'd be 5-2, 6-1. They were terrible as well. There has to be, you would think, a focus on a good start for all of these 3 clubs.
Yeah, and I can certainly talk about Collingwood. You watch them this time this year compared to going into January after their premiership success, they're a different group.
Yep.
You can just see by their movements, their reflex, their energy. They started a little bit later. They've come back hungry. They were disappointed with their result last year. They had a lot of players who fell down, broke down and didn't play a lot. And I think, you look at, say, McStay and Mychek as a combination. They played a bit 2 years ago together, but last year they didn't play once together.
Yep.
After he'd done his knee, Mychek gets injured. They don't play together. Then you add in Membry. Their forward line's going to be a different look, and hopefully Elliott stays in the park and De Goey spends a bit of time there. And you complement that with Bobby Hill's speed, McCreary's pressure, and also Lipinski, who plays high half forward to get up and to get out and saturate stoppage, but to get back in because he's a great runner. It's a really dynamic forward line. So I think Collingwood are much better prepared mentally and physically going into this season. There's no excuses. They'll have no regrets when they hit the ground running. And if they get beaten, they're Norton 3. It's not through preparation, I can tell you that. This time last year, I actually said publicly in my commitment to radio, seeing it the way speaking the way I see it, I just thought they were clearly behind a couple of other clubs when it came to their preparation phase, and proof was in the pudding, so they were playing catch-up all year. The other club, Fremantle, I've got great admiration for their playing personnel. They have to play strong footy early. They've got the capabilities to do it. What they have to do is improve their scoring profile and hit the scoreboard more often than they did last year. They've got to get to 100 points. I'm a firm believer, Marty. Yep. When you play 23 games, if you don't get to 300-plus goals, average 13 goals per game in offence, you won't play finals footy. Every team that played finals footy kicked 300 goals last year, and that's no coincidence. It's a benchmark that I look at. And if you want to be an offensive juggernaut, you've got to be able to do that. And obviously you need good territory. They've got the players through the midfield to do that. They've got a defence. Hopefully they have a clean bill of health there with Pearce, Cox, Ryan as their mainstays, coupled with a couple of other youngsters that give them some bounce and ball use coming out. So there's no excuse for the Dockers. They're primed. The Shy Bolton recruit is pivotal. He's going to be probably a 90% forward, 10% midfielder, I reckon, maybe 85-15. But if they use him smartly in that forward part of the ground, he could be the player that kicks 40 or 50 goals, which will complement the others that hit the scoreboard as well, Tracy and Amos, just to name a couple.
And the other club in that trio, you just mentioned Marty, the Hawks. One off the text line here, Mick. How will the Hawks handle going from being the hunter to being hunted this season? Because it's certainly a big difference.
Yeah, it is. It's a psychological part of the game that we really can't define or measure. But knowing full well what that group did last year, they started to get hunted at the back end of the year because they were the form side of the competition, arguably. And I thought they rose to the occasion well. They've got two experienced players who've played a lot of footy, and they're coming down to their defence. And we spoke about Barras and Battle last week. And they'll just add to that part of the ground, which will give them opportunity to have Sicily and Hardwick swing forward. They've got some forward-line players that can certainly hit the scoreboard in Watson, Ginnivan and also Moore. I thought Marby Child was understated last year. I had a big question mark, and I got it wrong, that he was an uncompetitive forward when he was at Richmond. It didn't work when Gold Coast recruited him in 2022. Last year at Hawthorn, his contested marking and his ability to bring the ball to ground to those fleet-of-foot small forwards was really good. And he had 33 forward 50 tackles last year, something that big blokes need to do. And he done it well. And if Mitch Lewis is the one they get right, and let's hope he does get right, he could be a point of difference as well to add to their forward 50 structure. And through the middle of the ground, they've got a developing ruck stocks, and they've got some hard midfielders who know how to play the game in Newcomb and Day. Warple's honest. So we know they've got plenty of players that can roll through there and impact the game like they do.
Here's one flying under the radar, Geelong. No one's sort of talking about them. I've been through their list. Oh, by the way, Mick, 3 stars for Geelong to get life membership. The late Mickey Turner, Zach Toohey, and also Mitch Duncan. So they'll be awarded life membership soon, I think.
Yeah, they will. They'll get in that, or get that celebration attached to their name this year, which is great. Tui's retired, of course. Mitch Duncan, he'll play probably more defence this year, give him the ball, make good decisions with it. We know he's a very good architect when it comes to ball in hand and using his feet. And I actually looked pretty closely about them and rating their forward line structure this week for the Herald Sun. It'll probably come out in the weekend, Marty. And I just feel it hard to go past Geelong as the most potent attack. You've got questions over Footscray or Western Bulldogs because of the Ugle-Hagan situation, which we touched on. That hasn't got any better. It sounds like it's got worse, to be honest with you, over here with everyone prodding and trying to find out the information required to get it out there in the mainstream public. As much as they're trying to be private about it, he's obviously got issues, the kid. And then you look at Joe Danaher, him exiting Brisbane. Obviously, he kicked 58 goals last year, had a great season. And that means Hipwood has to be the number one, probably in that part of the ground with Logan Morris. Does Gardner play forward? So they've still got some question marks over them, so they slide down a rung. And then you sort of look at GWS. They've got Stringer, he kicks 42 goals at Essendon, comes into GWS as set-up. They've got Toby Green, who kicks 44. You've got Jesse Hogan, who kicked over 70 last year. So you look at their potency and you say, well, they could potentially be the best forward line going into 2025. But I keep coming back to the Cats, how efficient they are. They play pure footy. They use the space well for each other because they've played so often together, bar Tom Hawkins. And I reckon because Hawkins only played 12 games last year, it gave them a chance to progress their forward line rapidly going into 2025. We'll sort of work on the run type stuff. I thought Shannon, the big Neil, was serviceable in the games that he played. He'll derive great benefit, knowing full well that he's got a great opportunity to cement a spot in the team. And then you've got your fleet of foot gut runners in Myers and Close to get up the ground and get back. You've got your creative Nouse in Stengel, and you've got other players like an Ollie Henry who can play tall but also hit the scoreboard at critical stages. So I think they're probably the number one ranked forward line, and you've got Jeremy Cameron, who I think is the best forward in the competition. He can get up, he can be an inside 50 entry player, but he also can kick goals from any part of the ground. either through marking it or winning a ball out of stoppage through a handball receives and snaps truly. We've seen that time and time again.
It's an interesting discussion point because I think there's certainly a strong case to be made that Geelong, if you are to compare the forward lines of Geelong and GWS, Geelong are certainly in front from an efficiency perspective, Marty, in terms of how potent they are from an efficiency point. But you look at the front half of the Giants, and I was taking a look over the past couple of days at what they've got to work with in their front half of the ground now that they've got Jake Stringer as one of their key recruits. You've got Hogan, you've got Green, Stringer, Brent Daniels is a quality high half forward who can hit back towards goal. And you throw in an Aaron Cadman who could really come on and develop as a young key forward, which there are some pretty huge raps on this year to complement your Jesse Hogan. Then you have other players, of course, that could pinch hit down there as well. You've got Himmelberg, you've got Riccardi to come in and play a role when needed. It's an interesting, I guess, discussion point in terms of how to differentiate the pair in terms of who has the stronger front six. Do you go for that potency where GWS are likely to score more this season, or do you go for the efficiency where Geelong are probably not likely to score as much as the Giants, but when they do get that ball inside 50, they're probably more likely to score, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, it does. It's all about territory and getting opportunity, but also you've got to take your chances. And looking at the GWS team last year, they kicked 330, 185 last year, whereas Geelong, they kicked 353, 210. So they've neared close to, one team just over 500 shots at goal and the other team's nearly close to 600. So Geelong get great opportunity. They've got players that play for each other and work for each other. The Stringer, it'll be a must-watch situation. Does he start? Does he play selfless footy? Does he play with an intensity and urgency like he did when he left the Bulldogs to go to Essendon in the early stages of his contract? He's got a fresh start. He's got a great opportunity to make a statement early to win the trust and the admiration of his teammates, because let's face it, what they did in that front half last year was quite significant. And then you've got other guys, Daniels, and I really like Cadman. And you spoke about Riccardi and Brown, who could come in that team to complement Hogan and Green. So, yeah, they got some scoring power. They were the seventh highest scoring team last year. They could elevate themselves clearly highly. And I always sort of judge a team in terms of front half, how they mark the footy. Last year it was Port Adelaide that were number one, but they've lost Dixon. And they've also got concerns over Marshall. My mail is that he mightn't play a lot of footy at all. They're really concerned about him going into this season. So they're two important players that are out of the team. That means Georgiades will have to take the mantle as probably being the number one. Does that mean Lord get a bit of an opportunity? They know they recruited Lukosius to play in that role, and they might go more smaller and dynamic in front of the footy to maintain the pressure they're pretty good at in that front half of the ground. And then you look at the Cats, and the Geelong team were absolutely fantastic in that part of the ground. Second highest for 450 marks. Their pressure rating was sixth in the competition. And then you look at the GWS team. They were certainly number one for forward half pressure rating last year, number three for 450 marks. So you're talking about three teams that are quite efficient in their forward half, providing the entry is good.
Hey, Mick, Sydney, we said yesterday on this drive program, a little tweak either way could go a long way with Sydney. This three-pronged attack, does he play with that, or do you persevere with a Marty, McDonald and McLean? Could one of them go back, Mick? Could one of them go back as a defender? Because they've always been a big player short down back as well.
Yeah, I think they rely on their system to help out McCartan and these boys, Nick Blakey and these guys behind the ball. I thought Melican elevated his game last year to play more a hybrid role, tall or small, and they did pretty well in that part of the ground. They probably needed some bounce out. They used Florent behind the ball. But I think these three guys you mentioned in McLean, who's more or less their relief ruckman, so I don't think he's a key back who could play tall. No. I think Marty kicked 40-plus goals last year, and he's evolving, and they do like him because he's such a powerful athlete. And we saw on a couple of occasions that he can do some serious damage, but he's still work in progress. And I've always sort of rated Logan McDonald's brain. He's got a midfielder's brain. You guys would have knew over there as a young player. He played a lot of midfield minutes, and you can see that when you go and watch him closely. I went and watched the final against Sydney a few years ago. His role when Buddy was playing was to get up to the logos and empty out and draw a crowd with him, and if they win the ball through transition quickly, they went into isolated situations with either Papley, Heaney and Franklin being the beneficiary of that. So I think they'll continue with that three-headed monster in front of the ball, Marty, and they'll just have to work. Hayward's understated. He's kicked another 40 last year. Papley had a few injuries at the back end of the year. That wasn't timely, but we know he can kick 40 every year he plays. And then they get their other goals through their midfielders, and we witnessed last year that Gould and Papley and also Warner all hit the scoreboard because of their power, but they've also got the ability to go forward, rest forward and hit the scoreboard.
Now, Mick, 2025, there are some big players that are out of contract, and I did see a list earlier today, and there would be numerous players out of contract over this upcoming 12 months who would be in the top 50, I'd say, in players competition-wide. Marty, and the reports from earlier in the week of Matt Rowell meeting with Geelong officials privately over the off-season, is that a cause for concern for you, Mick, if you're, say, a teammate of Matt Rowell's or an official at the Gold Coast Suns, or is that something now that's just part of the game and the direction in which things are moving?
Yeah, it's an interesting part of the game at the moment. Like, whether I'm old school or that, you sort of say to yourself, well, gee, if Gavin Brown was doing that back in my day, would you really like it? You probably wouldn't. You know how important he is to our team. Are we going to have him? But then you say to yourself, well, the world we live in is an ever-changing world, and we're probably more mature as an industry to accept that it is a business in a way from a brand perspective. As a player, they're looking after what's best for them, where they grew up, there's family ties. That family, mum and dad, probably haven't moved to a new part of Australia to watch their son play. They're embedded at home due to other siblings going to school. All that sort of stuff comes into the conversation, and sometimes they just miss being around where they grew up. Familiarity is important to a lot of people, and we saw Chris Judd come back, didn't we? And no one thought the way he hit the scene at the West Coast Eagles, he'd be a Carlton player or a Carlton captain, but he certainly found his way back to where he certainly grew up. So it's an evolving nature, Marty and Rylie, and we've just probably got to learn to accept that these conversations are going to take place because it's a business, and it's generally not the players that want to invigorate it. It's generally the football manager or the players' managers that certainly dabble their toe in it. And we've got to find out, for example, at the Pies, where's Bobby Hill at? He hasn't gave confirmation to Collingwood that he wants to stay there, so the longer he leaves it, we know that it's going to be spoken about, and managers have got a role to play. They've got to look after their client, and they're going to try to get the best financial advantage for them going forward. Not only does it help the manager, but it also helps the player, and that's what their job is. Okay,
Rylie took us up to the Gold Coast, and it's the last side that I had a look at today. I've still got 10 more to have a look at, but I know a lot of people are saying second year and they've made changes, but there was a major cull, a lot of veterans off their list. That's okay, they probably were due to go.
They were.
Right? Himmelberg, Noble, Rioli come in. Nothing great. Last year, 4-10 away from home. Against top 8, they were 2-7. And I reckon their draw's not that easy. They get Brisbane, GWS, Essendon, Melbourne, Adelaide and Richmond twice. They're going to have to improve a lot, Mick. Like you like to espouse about scoring. In the last 3 years, they've averaged 85, 80 and 84. So all of a sudden to get up to that level where you like to be, they've got some work to do.
Yeah, well, you get back to that round 11 game last year, and I had a good look at them during the week myself, Marty, and Geelong scored 100 points against them, but the Gold Coast team kicked 164. Mm-hmm. That's their template. Only 5 times they scored 100 points or more last year, but that was either at Carrara or at the Marara Oval. Their highest away score was in round 25 when they kicked 94 points, 14 goals, 10 to Richmond at the MCG, but guess what? They lost.
Yeah.
Their other losing score in a game that they should have won was against the West Coast Eagles in round 22. So that was really disappointing. And then North in round 18, they only scored 83 points against a team that was really struggling at that stage of the year. So that's clearly not good enough. Can you trust a team that gets on a plane, travels interstate and performs to that level? No, you can't. Until they do that consistently, they won't win my admiration and they won't be a finals candidate.
Good.
It's pretty, I guess, in line with where you had them for this upcoming season, Marty.
Yeah, I can't fall into... There's a fair bit of hype and there's a lot of expectation about them, but I just can't see where the improvement comes from. Maybe second year under Hardwick, that's where it's going to improve. Your thoughts on that,
Well, they've had makeshift forwards, haven't they? In terms
Yes.
of King, he's been their potent forward, Ben King. They've tried Levi Casbolt. They recruited Marby Chol to do it. He's no longer is at Hawthorn. They've got a young player in Jed Walter. He had a taste of it last year playing 14 games. Is he the answer? I saw him train over summer. Yeah, he looked in peak condition. He's a bit of a tram track leader. He leads in straight lines, and you ask any defender, any good defender loves playing on blokes that plays in straight lines as a key forward who leads straight at the footy. They're easy to defend against. So he's got to add some weaponry and craft and tricks to his forward craft if he wants to be a 50-goal kicker or more than that. And they certainly need someone of that ilk to work in tandem with Ben King, because Ben King's a leading forward. He's an uncontested mark forward. He's not a competitive beast who can grab the ball in the air in a contested situation and kick a crucial goal like a Jonathan Brown could or a Matty Pavlich could at various stages. He certainly needs someone to help out, and Jed Walter has to be the man.
Micky McGuane with us this afternoon, courtesy of Dankz Furniture, the comfort of home. Mick, just before we let you go, when can we expect to see the article that you have penned over there regarding how you do situate each line for each team heading into 2025?
Yeah, they rolled out the midfielders early this week, and they rolled out the defenders, I think, yesterday. So they're either online or in the paper themselves over the last few days. And I think they're intending to roll out the rankings of best forwards to worst forwards as a team on the weekend, whether it be Saturday or Sunday. I don't exactly know. Leave that to the powers to be. I just do the work, get to work and try to come up with an opinion that's got some tangible facts around it and give me reasons why. It is just an opinion. It's going to upset some supporters of some clubs, but when you ask someone to do the 18 or number 1 down to 18 themselves, they come up with a different look, and you can challenge them as much as you like as well. Creates great debate.
Kilmore Harness, wouldn't you find a $10 winner for us last week? So let's see if we can do that again.
Yeah, it's a tricky meeting there tonight, Marty, but I think there might be a little bit of an each-way play in race 4 at $51, to be honest.
Ooh.
Madge Egan, number 3, race 4, number 3. I've had something on it at those odds. I just thought it was okay winning at Bendigo. It needed to win. I reckon a horse like that, who's had over 20 starts before it broke through, it's always had some ability. It's got good gate speed. I reckon it'll derive good confidence from that victory last week, and I think that's a small each-way play in race 4 on the program. The 2 horses to beat are number 7, obviously Coconut Mickey, but you've got to question its will to win. And also number 9, it's got ability. What's Up Raptor, and we know the Andy Gaff K8 combination with trotters, they're very hard to beat. And we fancied Attracted also in a race a couple of weeks ago and hit a wheel and galloped, won last week. It's another one at $23. You can probably back each of 2, have a small play on numbers 3 and 10. And if you want to take some Cornellas, you can put those other horses in that probably are going to run well in Coconut Mickey and also What's Up Raptor. Race 5 in the program, I think, is the bet of the night. Number 9, Rain Amin. Herbertson is the trick to this horse. It'll be around black figures, even money. Might start a tad shorter. All the robots have Herbertson logged in. They generally are well backed. He's a gun driver. Horses run for him. But I think in this type of race, perfect trailing draw, it'll be very, very hard to beat. And in race 7 on the program, I want to back each of 2 here. I want to back the 7. They bet $3.20 this morning. It's flying, this horse, for Anne-Marie Conroy. And the one I want to save on is number 6, Melborough. And if people don't want to back each of 2, I'd suggest you have something each one, number 6, around the $13 each way. And I don't think you'll be doing your money.
Okay, Mick, just before we get your thoughts on the AG Hunter Cup, I should say, quick update here, Pakenham. They're about 3 minutes off a start. Courting Emily's $9.50 a drifter. Gold Moon is out to 12. He's a Tiger out to 13. Then Sacrifice is $6.50. Steinsy, $4.60 from $6.50. 4 into $2.75 goes Wandering Spirit, and 11 Gems down the bottom drifts out to $5 for Shane Foley. Big race on Saturday night. Your thoughts? Gee, it's a good race.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and the draw's made it really intriguing because you've got the 2 New Zealanders that'll, run out of their skin, Republican Party, and also Tack McLeod. You've got the New South Wales influence of Don Hugo, who is absolutely airborne. I thought his run first up from a spell was pretty good after being the dominant Inter-Dominion horse. And then obviously you've got the 2 siblings or the brothers, Leap to Fame, and also number 11,
Swazi. Yep.
Swayze or Swazi. Leap to Fame, it's drawn awkwardly, but Champions, they find a way to get out of trouble, and Dixon knows this horse, and he'll know what to do early. And, that Cameron Hart will try to put Swayze into the race over the 27.60 and try to get it up on speed and try to really make the other horses test their staying power. I'm still with the Champ.
Yep.
I think he's the best horse in Australia. I loved him as a young horse. I said to a lot of people, I think this is the new Blacks Are Fake at that stage out of Queensland, and I don't think I've been proven wrong in that situation. And I reckon as Champions do, they find a way, they get off the canvas, and I think Leap to Fame will still get the job done.
Leap to Fame currently at $2.15 chance with Tab Touch ahead of the AG Hunter Cup there over the 27.60 on Saturday night. Micky McGuane, thank you very much for your time once again this afternoon, courtesy of Dankz Furniture, the comfort of home. We'll do it again next week.
Good on you, fellas. Enjoy.
Micky McGuane is a star.
The Perth Racing Preview is where the Straight Up team finds you the winners, and here's the Straight Up team with their preview of Saturday racing from Ascot.
Yes, welcome along. 10 away from 4, and McGinnity is in the studio. G'day, big fellow.
Hi, Mart.
Riles was there.
Hello,
Hey,
Rylie.
Brad, how are you?
Hello, Rylie.
Can I just mention this? Please be advised that the meeting scheduled at Ascot today has been postponed until Monday, 3rd of February. Fields to remain the same as scheduled. Any horses that were scratched today will be reinstated in the field. Race times to follow. Belmont trials originally scheduled for Monday will be transferred to Tuesday. So you'd be excited about that.
Oh, Monday
party.
Oh, we're off and racing. You beauty.
Yeah, excited. Monday punting. Doesn't get any better.
Geez, I just avoid the Super Bowl too. Imagine that. Could have had a double header.
Stop it.
The old 6 a.m. start into the...
Yeah.
It's a bit much for you early in the week these days, Mark.
Just carry on. We've booked our seats for Super Bowl, mate. We're in.
Whereabouts? Or
It's booked out. No, it doesn't matter. You can't get in and annoy him. It's a shoe. We're there with Higo and the team. Higo and Joe. Yeah. David Short's in the team.
Shorty.
Sounds like Mark's just paid for his ticket with that little mention.
Yeah,
7, 8, no, they're sold out. 7, 8, 9, can't get in. Sacrifice. Jamie Mott, 630, 150. Steinsy, 230. Wondering Spirit, $1.50. Quinella, 18, 70, exacta, 47.90. Trifecta, 126.80. First 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 340, 88 and 7, the double 59.20. The quaddie 3, 5, 8, 7, 843.20. Number 10 is scratching. Pakenham race 5 in 23. Opening favourite is Ginger Sweet at $3.70. Now you're laughing. Something for Retrovision?
Yes.
Off the text line?
Yeah, Retrovision. 0427 789 571. Get those text messages in. Now,
yes.
we have a little bit to unpack from last week's program.
Sure do.
We had a bit of a
tip-off
take place last week between the Dupster and the Mauler.
Yeah.
And there was a fair bit on the line as well from what I remember because, funnily enough, the social media posts regarding the tip-off got a bit more traction than the podcast gets itself. So the tip-off certainly got the interest of the punters on the socials, and fair to say it was a mauling.
A mauling for the mauler. It was 4-2.
4-2.
Duppy was very strong late, wasn't he?
He came home with a wet sail.
Yeah. Sea breeze behind him.
Yep, and the Mauler did put up a box of Dane Swan's finest up on.
Oh, really?
Box of Swan for the Dupster. So I'll get the Dupster's details for you, Mauler, because I know you're very much a man of your words.
He
so
would pay.
A box of ice cold Swanee D's might be heading the way of Duppy.
Now, we discussed how this is going to work going forward because it's got a bit of traction. So the Mauler, it's a cutthroat competition. It's not a best of 3, McGinnity. It's
one and done.
One and done. So the Mauler's out.
There's no mediocrity here, mate.
One and done.
The Mauler's out.
Small sample size.
Yep. Duppy's in. So has he sent tips in yet, the Dupster?
Yes, Duppy's tips are in, or at least they will be in by the end of this preview.
Now, this is how it's going to work. The first person who texts in, apart from the Mauler, because you can't enter this competition, 2 months? Every 2 months.
That's something that you've just decided.
Yeah, he's got 2 months.
Off the cuff.
Well, he's already sent his tips in, but Mauler, they're for you only. So what we're doing is whoever can put a set of tips in, 11 races.
All 11 races,
yeah.
One selection.
Yes, one per race. Send them in on 0427 789 571 and you'll be going up against the Dupster. Okay, now the way this is going to work is any tipster that can go 3 weeks in a row will get a $100 Tab Touch voucher. So Duppy only has to win 2 more and there's a $100 Tab Touch voucher courtesy of McGuinnity and his team there at Tab Touch. So how about this for thinking on the road? It's been magnificent.
Rolling TNCs.
The rules committee.
It's in the fine print
Oh, there's
somewhere.
a protest. The Maulers. He's not happy. It's always going to happen.
Did we lock the door to the studio?
Sucks to suck.
No, well, he knew it was he knew it was cutthroat. So there you have it.
Yeah, what was it? We said to them,
Yeah, they knew the rules.
1 week only.
Now, what do you think?
We might give the Mauler a chance next week, and he can just take on the Sri Lankan bowling attack instead.
Well, he'd be set for 100 plus, wouldn't he? Just in case you are interested, Australia are 3 for 514, Kawaja 221, the shuffler, and Inglis is 66. Good start here for the kid.
I saw a tweet a couple of minutes ago. Australia have scored enough runs to win the first and second test matches.
Series over. Yeah. The rail's at the 7-metre position there on Saturday. What is the weather doing, Riles? You're our weatherman.
Hopefully doing a better job than the bomb.
Well, what have the bomb got wrong this time? They said it was going to be 40, didn't they? They only said 38.
No, said 38.
And they said 40 yesterday, and they didn't get the 40.
No. 35 degrees on Saturday. Rail goes to the 7-metre position. Pretty gentle southwesterly forecast for Ascot in the late and early afternoon. So a little bit of a gentle, caressing sea breeze for those on course.
Normal racing pattern. McGuinnity, come on.
I'm thinking on pace until it shows otherwise, Mart.
There's kids out there. There's little kids out there, 3 and 4 years of age, quoting this. You've inspired a generation.
Just wait till they get to the ESPs.
Oh, yeah. And there's another. Now, I've got a bone to pick with you too. Because of this, I got on and had a look. I worked out where to find. And you've put me in for a load of tips I never even tipped. What was all that about? You got Marty.
I went through the whole podcast and every horse you gave a push for.
Hang on.
I just chucked it in.
Oh, push. Yes. You know my push is for him, the people to back him to make some money there for Tab Touch. What about the 5 winners I tipped in Melbourne? Where did they go?
Yeah, that's
5 from 5.
Where's our producer girl? She's out getting a coffee. She can't run the trumpet button.
She's gone. I know she is. There she is, back.
Our focus.
And hang on.
Our focus on this program, Mart, on the straight-up Perth racing preview.
Well, if that's the case.
If it was a straight-up Melbourne racing preview, we would have posted them.
Now, let me say this. You need some accolades. Both of you boys hit some form. Rylie, you finally found a bit of touch and you're around the place again, McGuinnity. Couple of good winners.
Yeah, you're only
11 races this week to
only as good as your last, Mart.
Get stuck into.
Yeah.
There were plenty happy to sink the boots in a couple of weeks prior to that, so glad we could get a few back.
And there's one off the text line too. Loved your apparel there last Saturday.
My apparel.
Yes, you look very sharp. You had a bit of a blue checks suit on.
Yeah, the checks.
Yeah.
I'm a checks man.
Yeah, checker.
I think a couple of the other boys are a bit more
subdued,
linear.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm a checks man.
So
bit of colour as well.
Does it well. Wears it well.
Yeah, wears it well. So Wednesday, Thursday, no racing. Hey, that's weird. Wouldn't be good for the turnover.
It's never ideal.
You've got to give it back.
It's never ideal. Well, plenty going on the weekend and Monday now that get the punts as well.
We've got Albany tomorrow too, don't forget that.
Yeah, Esperance Saturday.
Yep. Good meeting down there. Key Clean handicaps the first 1,800 metres. And, geez, I've tipped a bit of time into this card, I tell you. Wow. 11.19 the first. 1 Atlantis Beach is 3.30. 2 Never Sober, 19 into 14. 3 Kings Parade's 2.90. 4 Striking Fella, 6 Boys Light Up is 17 into 12. Ocean Rangers 15. Pagey's Turner's 12. Rock DJ 20. And Royal Splendor 16 into 12. So there's a few sort of roughies have been specced here.
Bit of long-range meerkat action early, Mart.
A couple of LRMs.
Never Sober earlier. Local Pro Keen at the $18. Local Pro also Keen. Royal Splendor place heavy there at the 370. 740 places there. The other goes are more market smurging, the old MM, Mark. Market smurging for horses like Boys Light Up. That's just merging. There's been no money there really with us, so we'll look to lay them again later on in the piece.
Yeah, the 2 horses fancied by the market, the 2 I had pretty clear in this opening race as well. Not enough of a price available for me, but I did want to make a really strong case for Atlantis Beach, who just looks really well placed for mine. Back into graduate, no Metro win, 60-plus company. It's not a strong race either. Was beaten only 3.5 lengths by Bonjoy last start. Drew widest in that field and had to just really drag a mile back and worked home in some of the best late splits of that race. Was a Grandstand Cup winner earlier in the preparation. I'm just hoping that Sean O'Donnell can utilise the barrier and sit close, handier to the speed here, and he's been working home and getting to the line like the 1,800 metres is going to suit him as well. So it's a field that's lengths weaker than the races he has been contesting this prep, and he's a proven weight carrier. The only concern for mine is that he's traditionally not had a very good record at Ascot. He hasn't traditionally been an Ascot horse. He's had 15 starts for 3 minor placings and no wins at the track. So that is a bit of cause for concern with him, but happy to just sit and wait at the moment and see what the market does. But he's the one I do want to be with, and King's Parade does look the danger. Contrary to Atlantis Beach, does have a strong record at Ascot off the back of a strong win down at Mount Barker last start, and gets a couple of kilos on Atlantis Beach for a length and a bit defeat earlier in the preparation. So there's enough to suggest that perhaps King's Parade can turn the tables as well.
Yes. Not much getting me at this stage in this race, Rolls. I did like the run of Ocean Ranger last start, so I could entertain it at the bigger price each way with a small bet. But yeah, race 1 of the day, very early, 1,800 metres. This might be a real. You might not want to be last in having to circle them. So very, very small bet there. So I'll probably stay out, Mart, at this stage and just try and get Big John's autograph before midday if I can.
Got a bit of information evolving with Big John. We're working on this now. Race number 2, the Liberties Insurance Handicap, 11.54 the start time, 1,200 metres. And 1 is Comic Hero, 360 to 310. Cavallo Red, 650 to 550. King Advisor, 7 to 750. They did bet 8s. Caporetto, 9 into 7. 5 Centre Bond, 340, 380, 360. 6 Don't Trust Judas, 8 out to 17. 7 is Hobber Meteor is 31. 8 Trespassing is 26. And Never the Twain, 15, 14, and the Real Senor is 101.
Good, actually really tidy little betting race. This Caporetto, there's been plenty of snipping, mostly from these local sharpies there. So bet 300 at the $7, another 300 there at the 7. So King Adviso's getting some local pro money as well, 300 there at the 8. Times 2. Comic Hero, 900 at the 320. That is Eastern States Pro money. Not a lot else to speak of. It's, just those ones at this stage, Ross.
Yeah, good race. It's a good little Class 3 for a Saturday. I love the setup here at an each-way price for number 3, King Adviso, who... He was run down by a nice horse first up in a Class 5 at Pinjarra Park, and our mate Archie went on to run a ripper race in defeat last weekend, obviously, to make that form look pretty good, and just thought he maps to get a really soft lead here, King Adviso. There's not a lot of other speed engaged in this race. Trespassing's not going to be able to hold him out from finding the front, and getting to Ascot, a track where he should be able to lead, and if he gives a kick like he did, rounding the home corner at Pinjarra first up, back into a Class 3 from a Class 5 without having to absorb what doesn't look to be a great deal of pressure in the run. I just thought I really liked how this race sets up for him at the each-way odds. So I'm going to make a really strong case for King Adviso for the Ganjimi team here in race number 2. And obviously there's some depth to this as well. Cavallo Red was a huge run first up, but just don't like the barrier for him once again. Centre Bond's got plenty of upside and scope. Undoubtedly there's ability there, but I do think 1,200 metres is going to be on the short side for him, as impressive as his trial was, and he's a horse who can still do a little bit wrong in his races. And Comic Hero's the one where I could entertain if you don't like the each way, maybe even a back save here if you are a fan of Comic Hero. He does look very well placed back into a Class 3. He's better than this company, quite frankly, but he will have to do it from last with the 60 kilos first up, which is obviously the concern. But positive that the pads are off. Should have beaten home the subsequent Fitzpatrick Plate winner first up last campaign in Graduation Company with better luck, and then was it just about a good thing beaten deep the trip second up last prep behind Miss Flirtatious in 66 plus Company. So he does look very well placed, Brad, but you are banking on him being able to circle the field from last first up with the 60 kilos.
I echo most of your sentiments there, Rose. Either one of sort of Comic Hero, King Adviso or Centre Bond I could back, whichever one probably the market spits out late will be the one that gets me, I think, when it settles in there. So, and we'll hopefully get a nice little lead from race 1 as to how, especially early in the day, how advantageous it can be to be on pace. And if that does show to be the case, and King Adviso will certainly be getting a few of us.
Get your bets on if you're playing NBL today. 4:30 is the tip-off for the Jack Jumpers at 4:20, playing the Hawks at $1.23. The line's there at 9, over-under 187. Update for this next event coming in from Pakenham, race number 5. Full look at the board over the 2,000 metres. We're in the yard. And one Kentucky Knickers 19 into 16. Myers Reward is 8 into 420. Damien Lane. Number 3 Hiawatha is 7 from 9. Cotton Tree, 460, a slight drifter. Maxi Bond, the 6 out to 19. 7 Ballinor and 8 Bit of Odds, all 61. 9 Gemini Dancers, 34, a drifter. 10 Ginger Sweet, $424. 11 Socially Sassy, $13. And make that 12 Suntora is a drifter out to $6.50.
Keep getting those text messages in on the Retrovision text line 0427 789 571. Hey, champions, when do the cash for comments start for the upcoming Magic Million sales lots from Mart? Also, Mart, there's a second part to this text message. Can you please have a word to Big Wesley John and ask him to stop picking on Julio on Twitter? Pretty ordinary stuff earlier in the week.
He's only trying to match him up, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just doing the right thing.
IDF, babes.
He's trying to help him out, Benny.
Hey?
He's just trying to help him out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just give a man a leg up.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly right. The Bisley Workwear Handicap over the 1,000 metres, and it is race number 3. Time to go 12:29. Have we got those tips in yet for a player?
Yes, we do. We do.
Who's our player?
We've got Duppy v. Dutchy. It's going to be...
Duppy v. Dutchy.
The Dupp v. the Dutchman.
Well,
So,
it'll be interesting to see them. You'll have to put a market up. Head-to-head. Match race. Mauler said, why can't we make it a 3-way go? Mauler, you're out, mate. Just the rules are the rules, mate. Okay?
Duppy's wondering when his call from the package is coming to get him on the program full-time.
Well, it was an auspicious debut, as Darren would like to say. Four of the best.
He says only got the 2K extra views the new blokes usually get on the tip-off post.
There you go.
And
he's got us covered.
They're all his other accounts.
Right, the Bisley Workwear, and number 1 is Keep It a Mystery, 9 to 8. Clean them up. You put up 10, it went to 11. They said, that's just about enough for me, $7.50. The top bar is 21. He's got the safest Well, they went 650, and then you said, right, we'll see if there's any takers at 8. Bang, into 550. Want a winner, 7 to 650. 6 My Aloha is $6. Snow God, 240, 270, 240, and La Excellence, $91.
This is a punting race, Mart.
Yes.
Oof, we like this. Snow God, 1,400 at the 245, 1,300 at the 265. He's got the safe, 500 at the 550, 350 at the $7. You can't have that again. 500 at the $8. You can't have that again either. He's keeping a mystery. Wow, the bets for this horse are piling up. They really got quite keen early. Couple hundred at the 9, couple hundred at the 8, 300 at the 850, 400 at the 8, and a final bet of 1,000 at the 7. Oh. Want a winner. Local pros pretty keen. 400 at the 6, 300 at the 6. Clean them up. Where do I start? There's about 7 or 8 bets here ranging from about $10, $11 into about 8. Clean them up. So punters keen there as well. This is a really good betting race, guys.
It's a really good race in general, I think. You won't see many 3-year-old 1,000-metre contests with as much depth as this. We'll start with the favourite in Snow God, who couldn't have been really any more impressive on debut. Was really made to work early out of the barriers. Was written off by Old Cobb with 200 metres to go. But once he balanced up, he was pretty powerful the way he finished off to grab Nikki Motor, and was pretty soft once he got past her late through the line as well. He won like a horse who would only improve for that experience. He's got that tactical speed. He should be able to lob a beautiful spot in running here. And while he is up significantly in class, there are some really nice horses in this race. I just thought he won like a really nice horse on debut. I think he's only going to improve for that experience, and the visors going on should sharpen him up a bit as well. So the price just isn't there for me at the moment. I'm hoping to get something near the $3 mark, and I'm happy to follow up with Snow God, who I think looks a really nice animal. But yeah, as mentioned, there's plenty of depth here, and horses that we've all been following at certain stages over their journeys. Mart as well, he's got the safe, hasn't put a foot wrong in his career to date for Graham Ballantyne. I just think that maybe the 1,000 metres and the wide draw are what's against him. Absolutely no knocks on what he's been able to do. Has that form around Storyville, who we know what she was able to do through our carnival. Clean him up just isn't helping herself with how she's leaving the barriers at the moment, Brad. She's ending up in awkward positions because she's just not stepping cleanly. But that form around Schmoove Mover, Supernatural and London's Image is proper 3-year-old form. And My Aloha, who's been a massive drifter in betting, was luckless in the Placid Arc, had excuses in the Lister last start. Perhaps she might have had enough for that prep. And you go back to Melbourne Cup Day and she ran down Sunlit Fresco, who's a really nice mare with some real authority, and was given a soft trial on Tuesday, I should say, not Monday, down there at Pinjarra Park leading into this weekend. And there's going to be punters out there making cases for Keep It a Mystery, who I know Luke's got a really high opinion of, and also Want a Winner, who looks a nice horse the way this colt has been trialling for Sean and Jay Casey as well.
Indeed. Wonderful trial. For me, yeah, once again, we're seeing from the same hymn sheet in regards to what we think about the race. This isn't far off a listed quality type of race, is it? There'll be some form coming out of Earmart.
You wouldn't have seen a hymn sheet, mate. Drop off that. Wouldn't know what one looks like.
Too busy in the confessional. My Aloha each way. My Aloha each way for me. This is a
drifter. You've taken on the drift.
It probably means I went up too short. I would have thought, mate. I'm not worried about the drift at this stage at all, because I don't think it means a lot except for the support for a lot of other horses. So My Aloha each way gets me at that $6.
I think with all of his winners last week, Duppy's been able to go out and afford himself a new phone. We've got a new text message here. First time texter, long time listener. I was very taken by Dwayne Duppy's tips last week. I would happily subscribe to him all the time. Chad from Applecross.
Yeah. Doesn't take long, does it?
No. There you go.
Chad's not new to the Applecross region, is he?
We might get in trouble. We got to keep he's our number one man on drive, Brad. So you need to be very careful. We don't want to upset the apple cart. All right.
Had a rough week too.
Get your bets on Pakenham. They're milling around behind the barriers. So we got anything for the book here, Ross?
Snow God for me, but just want a bit of a better price. So happy to hold fire for now. But it's been a bit of a sad week, hasn't it, Brad?
We need some emotional music in the background for the
losing the great man.
The news for the retirement of Miss Vasari, Mark.
Oh, sorry, I've hit the wrong button.
Well, when she hits the breeding barn in a few months' time, that might be the right button.
Who will it be? Safeguard, just meandering around, or a little bit of Sessions, perhaps?
Machino. What was that? Can we have that again? My Aloha each way, Mark, for me.
And
that is...
This isn't for the graphics, all right, but I was very impressed with Want a Winner's Trial, and I did like its win first up when Jade McNaught wrote it. Yes, you're listening to Straight Up, 20 minutes past 4 o'clock, about to get to race number 4. Pakenham, race 5, we've got the dibs.
I do, Mart. Race number 5, 5, 11, 9 and 7. 5 Cotton Tree for Ethan Brown. 4:30, 160, beat 11. Socially Sassy, 290. Third 9, Gemini Dancer, 1140. Quinella, 3690. Exact to 5760. Trifecta, 2,477.30. First 4, 5, 11, 9. And 7, 25,683.40. The double on 7 and 5, 41.74 and 13 out. Race 5 at Pakenham.
Okay, race number 6. This is due to go in 23 minutes over the 1,200 metres to Arizona Activist, $5.53. Street Elite, $5. 4, She's a Con, $9.50. Number 5 is Van Cookler at 26.7. Magic Drum, 101. 8 is Naughty Benny, $2.75 from Bunbury. 9 Primal Spirit, $9.50. Number 10 is Rashiri, $41. 11 Serious Statement, $4.20. And 12 Unique Bambino is $126. Retrovision's text line. We got something there?
Yes,
You're
Liam
sniggering and smiling in the background.
Yes, great text, Liam from Aveley. Good to have you with us. He says, "Hey, Mart, a bit of heat wouldn't have stopped a big horse like yourself getting around the paddock back in the day."
Nah, I love the heat, but I tell... Who was that?
Liam from Aveley.
Liam, you're dead right, but it has apparently affected Big Bosch in this one-on-one. He's had a one-on-one with Hayden King from the West. Can you believe that?
One-on-one. In this heat too, mind
you. I don't think he knew who he was. Anyway, we couldn't get a run with him, but he said that he handled it okay. Plenty of Chinese, and he's looking forward to Saturday.
Speaking of the Bosch, Liam's given us a winner as well. At first he asked, did you guys know that Hemlock Stone won the Perth Cup? And he's got a winner for us as well. My tip for Saturday race 11, number 2, Son of the Bosch. Go well.
Okay.
Thanks, Liam. Good text.
Another one there from Ginger Jane. She said, is my son going to give his tips for Melbourne again at some stage? Don't worry. Ginger, they're coming. They're coming. The MCA Polytrack Plate over the 1100 for the 2-year-olds. This is due to go 104. Race 4 at 104. You're in massive trouble, McGinnity. You've started a bit early here. I do feel lucky is 440. Number 2 is Capitola, 6 into 390. 3 Stride Away is a 5 into 4 after opening at 440. True Fiction out to 31 adrift. Aberdeen Flyer 11. Bose Lad 101. Yes, Buster 101. Champagne Crusader 17. My Riches 26. Slip the Jab 550. 11 Why She Stayed at 34 from 61. Elegant Rulers 18-17 and Pure Silver 71.
Yeah, a little deduction with that scratching there, Mark. She's hot. Probably only about a 5 or 6 cent deduction there. Plenty of money early too, so one to watch when it does get to the races. Straight away, what have we got here? Oh, local pro money. 500 at the $5.
LPM.
Capitola, 400 wins at the $6 more LPM. Straight away, another 300 there. Capitola, plenty of $200 bets. Champagne Crusader, one out wide there, a couple hundred each way at the $19. That's about it, Ross.
Yeah, pretty keen here on number 3, Stride Away, who just has to be top seed for me with how this race, once you go through it, some may knock at the time, but you don't really see them trial any better than what he did back on the 20th of January. He looks to have come back in superb order. I love the fact that he's already got a racing preparation under his belt as well. His win back in October over the 1,000 metres was outstanding, and it took a pretty withering run on debut by Talk & Co to grab him late the last time he was at the races, with a huge gap back to the rest of that field. He comfortably had the measure of Capitola when they last met. I know Capitola gets a couple of kilos on him here, but I just thought he was still the far superior performance on that occasion, and with a little break, he may have just come back even better off the manner in which he trialled. He's drawn beautifully. I think 1,100 metres is a big tick for him, and I think from what we've seen, Brad, to date, that he's one of the nicer 2-year-olds that we've seen wheeled out thus far since the beginning of the season. So happy to be with Stride Away in the book for me, Mart. Race 4, number 3. I've got plenty of respect for Capitola, who has a lovely map to work with. Looks as though Chris Parnham would have had a few options here as well, and that may have been the way he's gone. With Capitola, slick recent jump out as well, broke 24 seconds. Do I feel lucky? Very dominant performance last start. We've seen that form stack up as well through Our Naughty Secret and Perfectly Proper, but does have to carry 3.5 extra kilos here. Month between runs, drawn barrier 13 of 14. So there is a little bit against Do I Feel Lucky this time around as opposed to last start, and a number of other runners that look, that look really nice 2-year-olds as well. Brad, Aberdeen Flyer, luckless on debut, really nice horse, 14 of 14, or 13 of 13 now, probably the sticking point for him, and slipped the jab. That was a electric 400-metre jump out. 22.95, is that right?
Yeah. I didn't run the clock myself, but
that's
sometimes
quick.
You do scratch your head.
It's very quick. She's drawn very wide, but she looks to have plenty of speed, and there's probably a few more questions and answers with her getting to the races for the first time. I probably would have preferred to see her over 1,000 on debut as well, just in terms of how she went about it in that 400-metre jump out, but you just have to be respecting of her off that performance, don't you, given the time.
Oh, 100%.
The visual aspect of it, but Stride Away on top for me. I think he's a really nice 2-year-old.
Yeah, I can't.
I should say. Sorry, my apologies. Sorry to Big Wesley John. A very nice 2-year-old.
He's busy on Twitter. He's not listening. I couldn't take under $5 about anything in this race because of the respect I have for a few of them and the depth that this race seems to have. Aberdeen Flyer, one thing that my note said the barrier may even be a good thing for that horse. Looks like a customer that would appreciate a bit of room in the horse race. And do I feel lucky? That draw does look awkward, but you only need to get covered behind one horse, Mart, to give you that chance from out wide. It seems enough tempo on the race. You'd think Slip the Jab will be humming along out in front. You'd like to see that, and so it gives them all their chance to chase it down. So really good, even race. I'll probably look at maybe an Aberdeen Flyer each way at that $13 around the trap. So I really liked its debut. Mm-hmm. But it's a semi, isn't it? This is a semi-final for the Magic Millions, isn't it, for a few of these? So
sure is.
Heading down to Pinjarra for the Magic Millions?
Unlikely.
Right. And don't forget, too, Sunday, they've got the Breeders' Classic at Bunbury. Are you officiating? Or?
I am.
That market's up already with Tab Touch?
We'll run through that later, too.
The Big Red Machine.
He's a Sunday specialist. He race number 5, the Tab Touch West Speed Platinum Handicap over the 1,200 metres at 1:39. I often wonder what he gets up to during the week, Big Red. He could get up to anything, couldn't he? 1 Capricorn Man is 8, 2 War Gem is 15, 3 Our Rocky Bay 6 into 5, 10 Snips 31, 5 Just St James 650 to 480. Mystic Jane is 14, 7 Playing Games 950, 8 Cessation is 8 into 7, Rocket Juice 480, and Talk and Gibberish 16 into 12.
Nice omen bet there down the bottom. Been some money early, Talk and Gibberish, a couple of hundred at the 16. A couple of hundred War Gem at the $15. Again, if you like, sir. Just St James, the early money. There's been that 400 at the 650, 400 at the $6. A couple of hundred more there at the $6. This has been well supported. This is Eastern States pros and local pros, Mart.
Yeah. LPs.
The LPs and the ASPs.
Local sharp money cessation as well at the $8. So reasonably even spread at this stage.
I just digress, because while we're doing this, and I know we're under the pump for time and that, but I do see headlines, and one just up there caught my attention. Expect the unexpected from Freo this season. Now, what the hell does that mean? What does that mean?
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, from Freo. That's all they ever dish up. The unexpected. If you expect them to win, they lose, and you expect them to lose, they win.
So what you're saying is they'll miss the 8.
Wow, what are they on about?
Because everyone says they're going to finish top 4.
Channel 7, lift your game. Race 5, let's get back into this. I've got one in this. I'll lead with it. Rocket Juice, it'll be winning. Back to 1,200.
Well, there you go. There you go, punters.
I'm with you, Martin, actually.
I'll just make sure I triple check that before all the graphic goes up.
Not for the graphic.
Week.
You can't put me on graphics.
No real strong opinion from me here, gentlemen. X-Factor runner, though, clearly just St. James, who I've always had a bit of time for, was a clear forgive run at his only attempt at 1,200 metres. In his career, he belted a pretty sharp horse in the cessation down the straight last time out. It was a very impressive performance, and you go through his career, and this horse clearly gets on very well with Chris Parnham, who sticks as well. You go back to November, he hit the line super into second with 60.5 kilos on his back over the 1,000 metres behind None So Spicy, who he gave 3.5 kilos to on that occasion. I think None So Spicy's a really nice sprinting type for the Caseys, and that's a nice enough form line into a Westmead Platinum, given what she was able to go on and do in that campaign. You know, he's a get-back run-on type from barrier 10, but he's got a proper turn of foot, and he's got a bit more upside than most of these here, I would suggest. So he was the interesting runner for me. Just St. James, War Gem, Mapswell trialled up nicely under the Unraced Apprentice, contested a much stronger race than this, when without a lot of luck, 3 deep, no cover, fresh last campaign. So you could certainly make a case for War Gem at the big odds. And Rocket Juice with Mart as well. Much better suited back to 1,200 metres with a barrier. Was never going to be suited back to the 1,000 second up, but was perhaps a mixture of a touch flat and the fence not being the place to be on that occasion as well. So I do think Rocket Juice is a massive improver back out to 1,200 metres.
Yeah, Rocket Juice for me, the 550 around the track smart. Yeah, that's another one I could forgive his playing games. I think it's actually ticking along pretty well, approaching at double figures there each way. Agree with Rylie. War Gem's a chance. Capricorn Man's another chance now that's got one on the board, and a race full of chances. But yeah, for me, Rocket Juice looks the one that's got the right setup, and he's ready to go.
Okay, the Peters Investments handicap is race number 6. Is over the 2,200 metres. Time to go 2:19, and number 1 Flower in the Wind is 19.2. Rocking Society 4:20. 3 Rudia is 18. 4 Weir Chew is 15. 5 Alaskan is $5. Number 6 Romeo 12. 7 Stormageddon into 265. Flash Paddy's 20. God's Garden 71, and Icebergs. The text went out. 21 in the 950. Did you get it this week, the owner?
They leave me out. They've had enough.
I won't say it's proper text. It's text message adjacent.
Right.
So it's not the full, but there's certainly plenty of support there. The 20s, obviously, yep, long gone. There's plenty of $100 bets and 100 each way type bets there at the 20s all the way in. So good luck to those punters. Good luck in running a nice fourth.
Yes.
Stormageddon, 1,000 at the 290 ESP. Rocking Society, 400 at the 440. Gets some support every start. Fair enough. Another couple of 300s there at the 420 and 440. That's about it, Ross.
One from Slammer off the text line. He says the cricket's very boring, apart from hopefully watching Josh Inglis get his century on debut. It's a very hard watch, but he said Icebergs to win race 6 on Saturday. So the Slammers... It's the Slammers' money. It's a big go. Fair old little bit of support there for the Berg off a nice enough performance last weekend. For me, I don't have a lot to give you in this race, Mark. Not my not my bag, these staying races. But one thing I will say, Stormageddon, as we know, was pretty luckless last start behind Noteworthy in what was a pretty slowly run staying contest where they just really dawdled along and it turned into a bit of a sprint home, and the horses that were able to make their runs into the race at the right time were advantaged. But I think with better luck, Flash Paddy's in that finish, in that race, and he's almost, 9-10 times the price of Stormageddon.
Yeah.
I think that's a wild discrepancy, given Sean O'Donnell also had to duck back to the inside on towards the fence, which certainly wasn't the place to be on that day. So
you tipped it last start, did you?
Yeah, I did, and thought he was pretty unlucky, and I can't believe he's 20-1. He was
not sticking?
He was beaten 2 lengths on that occasion. I don't like the fact Sean O'Donnell's hopped off to ride Romeo, so would have loved Donga to stick, but yeah, Flash Paddy's a big price at 20-1. That'll get me for a small each way investment once again to follow up. I think the Stormageddon obviously was unlucky in that race as well. Rocking Society had clear excuses, no doubt about that. Lucy was on the back of the wrong horse, and I think she had to get going when she did. There was plenty happy to pot her on the text line here on courtesy of Retrovision for the ride, but she was on the back of High Boy, who was taking her nowhere. They were walking. She had to get going to put her horse into the race when she did. Had 60 kilos to carry as well. He certainly didn't lose me as an admirer, and Wee Ray Chu was a much better run last start and brings a bit of X factor up to the staying trip from a low draw. As we know, the Belmont Classic winner over the 2,200 metres, defeating a pretty nice horse through the winter as well. So I think Wee Ray Chu's a blowout hope at the odds, but yeah, not a lot from me here, gentlemen.
I agree. We rate you at the $18 around the traps each way is a great sneaky if you do want to avoid the favourites in the race, which I can understand why people wouldn't. And we staying strong with horses like your Alaskans, your Stormageddons or your Rocking Societies, fair enough. But yeah, we rate you is ready to run a race, Mark.
You're giving Rudy a no hope? He's going to love the 2,200. It's bred to get 4 miles.
And
they're doing a good
Richard
job with it
from
too.
Kalgoorlie off the text line. Are we discounting Alaskan this week?
Oh, I'm not a fan.
He's had enough chances for me.
I thought he was going for it. Didn't Chris say he's ready for a spell when we spoke to him last Sunday? Or getting close to it?
I wasn't.
Weren't you?
No.
I thought you were.
No, it wasn't me. I didn't have that conversation with Chris.
It was Michael and Richie Bell. That's right. Mick's tip the $51 shots in this, race 4 at Kilmore. So if you backed it, number 3, Majigan. We go to race number 7, and this is the Tab Touch. Have you got the touch handicap over 1,100 metres? Time to go 2:59. How are you travelling now, McGinnity? One. Got to push this through a bit. I've got to get hold of Jay Rooney too, because he needs some tips for racing tomorrow in Hong Kong. Ruler Rocket is $12. 2 Crystal Vein, 23. 3 Best Mood, 6 into 5. 4 Lost City, 373.60. Treasured Queen, 559 out into 750. This is the one they've come for. Rapid Rock. Yeah, it's yours. 21 into 850. Export Girls, 26 into 19. Princess in Red, $12. This will show you 16 at your service, 5 from 6, and Wise Words, 81.
Well, we can start with the Rapid Rock money. Oh, there is a bit there. There's a couple of $100 bets there at the $21. Nice place bet there. 700 places at the $4. Eyesight's going well. And then a couple of 100 wins at the 10, a couple of 100 wins at the 950. Export Girl, a bit of each way snipping. 500 place at the 525. There's a $300 win bet there. At your service, 500 wins at the 550. Lost City is starting to get some rank and file money now, Mart.
Yep.
The Maulers group horse.
Yes. Railway Stakes winner, I think you said. No, it was something along those lines, but it gave the Maulers a big fan of this horse. I know that for a fact.
Be very careful what you say.
He's not happy.
He's ready to take action.
He's a bit grumpy, the Mauler. Greg L's pretty keen here. He's keen to load up. He's loading up here, Mart.
Yep.
The great Greg L. At your service for Luke Fernie. He's pretty keen. And I better get to the Dutchie's text because he's not a happy man. He says he thinks we're avoiding him, which we certainly aren't doing. It's the Dutchman. The Dutchman here. Been a tough couple of days in this heat off the back of a big weekend celebrating with the Dupster, and they go head-to-head in this week's edition of the Tip-Off. Wish you'd given us a heads up that if the Mauler lost the Tip-Off, he'd be sent packing to the Bureau of Meteorology. Assume he's gone there and declared a woeful 37-degree guess for today. And I'm hearing he's also asked the great Wesley John Cameron for a tip-off next week, and let's just hope that he's talking about horses, otherwise he might be in a bit of strife.
He would be in a bit of strife there. Okay, we've got to get moving here. We're running late. Clint McDonald, he's tipping Naughty Benny in this next race at Pakenham. 2 punters, if you want to have a bet in that. What are we doing?
2 for me here. Interested to see what the market does, but I'm a big fan of Lost City and also At Your Service. Might have a bit of a back save play here. Lost City, unbeaten in 3 runs on top of the ground in her career to date. Thought the recent trial was nice under Chanel Cooper. She's got some versatility and a really nice barrier to work with first up here as well. I just love the fact that she's on top of the ground here with a lovely gate for Clint Johnston Porter. And At Your Service bumped into a pretty nice 3-year-old in all grunt last start, and her effort had plenty of merit given she did a bit wrong in the run as well. Drops 3.5 kilos off her back, gets a good map, and that last start race has proven a pretty red-hot form reference already with 2 subsequent winners and a place getter who missed by a neck as well. So it's been the form to be following, and back to 1,100 metres might be a bit of a concern at this stage of her prep, but given how she races and she can overdo things, I think in a fast run, 1,100 metres, that might just suit her as well. So happy to back and save with Lost City and At Your Service, and I was a big wrap for the trial of Best Mood as well. Just don't love the setup with this horse. 1,100 metres, wide barrier, likely to go back first up, I thought, or if they went forward, it looks a bit sticky for this horse. So I'm going to leave Best Mood for now and look for a Lost City At Your Service play here in race number 7.
Yeah, they're the ones that have to be respected in the race. Making a little case for Treasured Queen. Price has sort of gone, but just showing a bit of forgiveness there. Horses definitely showing better ability than, and things haven't gone quite right either in the especially I think last start. So the 1,100 with a kind of run, it can certainly be right there in the finish. But it's as much as there's a bit of talent up the top there, Mark, it's a pretty open sort of race. A horse like Ruler Rocket, gee, that was a nice run last start, Rolls.
Yeah, looks a bit of a sticky map again. Plus, I do like Ruler Rocket with a senior jockey. He's not the easiest of horses to ride. He's got a few quirks, that's for sure. This
will show you down there from the stable.
Well, honest, tough, and you know what you're going to get out of the horse, so can't query that.
All right. Hawks have got away to a good start against the Jackies here. They lead 14-7, halfway stage of the first quarter. Runners around behind the barriers at Pakenham. We need to push through here, so we'll at least commence the opening look at race 8, Ascot, the Petaluma.
Josh Inglis has also turned up on debut.
Has he really? Wow, that's a good effort.
Well done, Joshy.
Against Lakeview.
Overdue.
Lakeview and Star there at the Cruikshank Sports Arena, wasn't it? Oh, no, sorry, it's Sri Lanka. 1, Boab Boy. 9 into 480. This is a genuine cave-in. Bleecker Street is 16 into 12. Great Demon, 750. On Patrol, 14 to 12. 5, Sky Talker, 13 into 9. 6, Chino La Diva, $7. 7, Prince of Santos, favourite, 383.30. 8, Belle Journey is 51 to 23. 9, High Commission, 750. 10, Allegro Del Mondo, 71. And 11, Knock One Back is $51.
Boab Boy will start with the heavy place component, 1,100 at the 280. Those win bets, when did the win bets get stuck into? $9, $300 at the 9, 300 at the 850, 500 at the 5, Boab Boy. So plenty. That's an Eastern States Pro, so they're happy to take the $5. Prince of Santos we got a bit of cash here as well, 800 at the 350 and another 700 at the 350. Another 400 there at the 350 as well. Sky Talker, a bit of each way snipping there at the $13. Aside from that, not a heap else to speak of there, Ross.
Do we have time, Mart?
I reckon push it through. Yeah, push it through.
Yeah, okay. I was pretty keen to back Boab Boy at the each way, or come on the show and tip him at the each way earlier today. But gee, there's been some money, $8.50, $9 around with Tab Touch this morning. That has well and truly evaporated. I thought it looked a really nice setup for him with a soft lead. I thought his first run for Simon Miller was really good, and Memory Parade has already franked that form. And while it's quite a sharp rise in trip second up, I just thought it looked a really nice setup for him to lead and get them chasing in a race that looks pretty even on paper. The other horse I'm interested in is number 3, Great Demon, who wasn't suited by a really muddling tempo. Good fresh. Run. He gets out to 1,500 metres, reunites with Brad Parnham, and the winkers go on. And while I will say it does look a slightly tricky map from where he's drawn, he's the horse that you can put a line through that first up run and think he can bounce back in a big way. So Boab Boy and Great Demon for me here, Martin, race number 8.
Okay, let's hold it there. So wrapping up on this race at Ascot, you do like Boab Boy, Riley?
I do.
Bit of respect for Great Demon.
Yes, and I think we should probably touch on Prince of Santos, who...
Yep.
I've always had a bit of time for him. Couldn't have been more dominant on resumption, but I am a little bit of a query on the strength of that form. I don't think there was a great deal of depth to that Class 1 race that he did win very impressively, but he does get a really nice map from the barrier, and he should improve for having that run and win under the belt as well.
Chino Ladiva at this stage at the current prices for me each way. I think it's about $9 around the traps. Drawn sweet, looks like a lovely run. I don't think I've got any issues with the 1,500 for it, and looks a pretty nice horse going through the grades, and the penny seems to have dropped.
What do you think of the trial of High Commission?
Fantastic. Oh, that was really good.
1,500 first up looks perfect.
Yep.
Was it scratched on Monday behind the gates?
Yeah,
Monday. Scratcher, yeah.
Hasn't been seen at the races since Feb 15th, 2023, so that's almost 2 years ago now.
You can't win.
I know Axman's Jazz did similar for Grant and Alana Williams, but I'm sort of personally, I'm always happy to take them on off.
Oh, the 12-month rule. Happy 70th birthday, Finn Parry. Well, good on you, Finn. You could write a good book as well over the 1,400 metres. Johnny Zukel last week, Finn Parry this week. Two of the doyens, the stewarding game. And let's have a look at the betting here. Number 1 is Bruce Almighty. Now, the scratching Papaviro Princess, that would have affected the market.
Yeah, that'll be a decent deduction. Only a few operators were up at that stage.
Right.
But she was about the $3.50 mark, I think.
Okay. So Bruce, we won't worry about the fluctuations. He's $6.50. Benji's $8.50. Street Parade's $31. Heskett at $12. Not Secret. Good run the other day for the Tomato Flogger, $10. Angel Undercover's $5.50. Hostile Talk $3.20. Henchard $34. And King's Salute is $4.
Papaviro Princess 800 at the 350. Already a collect before the weekend. Well played, sir. Hostile Talk 500 at the 320. King Salute 500 at the 550. Plenty of $250 and $300 bets. Hostile Talk, 4 or 5 of them banking up. And Mart, your mail has been distributed. Not a secret. A few 200 each way type bets at the 16, 14.
Yeah.
12.
Well, it was a damn good run last start, wasn't it?
Thought Hostile Talk just cruised past him.
Well, one's 320 and one's 10.
True.
Anyway.
Could go the place heavy, Mart.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old 1x3, Bradley. Punters.
Yep.
I won't put it in the graphic, though, Mart.
No, don't.
Don't have to worry. Tricky little race for me, Brad, especially now with the scratching of Papaviro Princess. Hostile Talk is your favourite. He's flying. He's clearly come back a better horse this campaign. He just won really nicely last start. You just sort of... Sometimes you see a win and you go, gee, that was a nice performance, and that's what the win of Hostile Talk last start did for me. He may have to get a bit further back here in running from the barrier that he's drawn, but he gets a couple of kilos off his back and seemingly only getting better with racing. I've got massive respect for what he's doing at the moment. I think King Salute can turn the tables on Angel Undercover from their last meeting. He gets 1.5 kilos on her for a length defeat, and is probably the better suited of that pair, up to 1,400 metres with a more favourable map. So I think he can turn the tables on her, despite the fact that I think it was a really nice win. And then from the other form line, you have horses like Bruce Almighty, who continues to race really well. Benji's is airborne at the moment. Last start was only beaten by Bonjoy and Rush into the Bar. What price would those two runners be in this race? Back to 1,400 metres is perhaps not in his favour, but gee, he's going super for Cliffy Green. And even Heskett, who's $12. Heskett beat Benji's home 2 starts ago and meets him better off at the weights. So there's a few avenues you could take here.
And it was pretty stiff last start.
Very stiff last weekend, in fact. Just never got a look at them when he needed some daylight. But, I struggled for a conviction here. Quite a compressed market and some different form lines, of which I wasn't exactly entirely sure which was the one I wanted to be latching onto and following, Brad. Yeah,
I can't isolate one myself, so we'll go to a man that's never battled with a conviction. Mark, what do you got for us?
Interims at Pakenham I've got for you in race 6, 8, 11, 9, 2. Naughty Benny, Ben Mallam, $2.40, $1.30. There was the Omen tip. Serious Statement, $1.60. Primal Spirit, $2.50. Quinola, $4.50. Exacta, $11. Trifecta, $51.60. The first 4, 8, 11, 9, 2, $160.50. 5 and 8, the double, $17.60. And 1 and 6 out. Pakenham race number 7. We'll just have a look at these over the 1,400. Future Stars Series, Heat 7. Good race, 1. Preservator is $51. 2, Aislam is $6. 3 is Dasher, $7.50. 5, Diva Time, $91. 7, Desert Rose, $21. Hey Now. 2.10 into $1.55 for Williams. 9, Jenny Intiba, $23. 10, Matrimonials, $5.50. 11, Stella by Starlight, $126. And 12, Via River at $71.
Couple off that Retrovision text line. A couple of punters are opening the shoulders up here. Mart, Fred from our man Fred from Freo, he says Big John could sit on Hostile Talk's back on Saturday and it'll still bolt him. And Richard from Kalgoorlie, he says, Hostile Talk drops weight and should bolt in. And he says, and Richard said he's going in hard right now. So he's gone in, he's getting in nice and early.
Hostile Talk.
A bit of confidence. Love it.
Going in hard early. We like it. And there's a couple of questions here about the Ascot Mile, which we might just save till we get to race number 10 on the program, gentlemen.
Righto, let's continue on. We are at 6 minutes away from 5. Jay Rooney be coming up. We've also got a recorded interview with Ian Dunson from the Sports Daily earlier on today. So we get to race number 10, and this is the Ascot Mile, and it's over the 1,600 metres, Brad. Alaskan Cod is 23, blazing away 81.
Like that one,
I'm pretty happy with your own work there, Mark.
Pretty happy with that.
And then we go to Rush into the Bar at 460. Fear the Wind at 12. Sensational 460. Antique Miss 11. Fly with Caution 14. And Own the Queen. The unlucky Own the Queen last start $6.
Local Pro Money Bonjoy 1100 at the 280.
The LPMs.
Fear the Wind.
Yep.
Couple $150 each way at the $11. Fly with Caution. $500 at the $14. Bonjoy heaps of $300 bets at that 275 range. Own the Queen. Don't they love backing this mare? 500 at the 7. 500 at the 7. 450 places at the 225. 800 at the 650, 600 at the 7.
I reckon Own the Queen's given her owners a few grey hairs this prep. Fair to say, Brad. Hasn't had a lot of luck.
Had some excuses, yeah.
Now, one off the text line here, Brad. How do you think, two-part question, how do you think the map in race number 10 ends up here with no obvious leader?
Yeah, it's a combination of sticky and messy, isn't it? It's you've got Fly with Caution out wide, rushing to the bar, who can on its day go forward. Antique Miss, Own the Queen, and they won't want to be looking at the lead with it. So which one of those, was that how you had it, Ross?
Yeah, I thought Antique Miss would lead, given those were the tactics she employed in a race without any speed, winning the Latrice a couple of starts ago, and then got posted wide from a wide gate, being a bit, I don't know, reactive last start. Fly with Caution would charge across, sit outside the lead. I thought you'd have Antique Miss, Fly with Caution 1-2, Own the Queen on their backs, one out, one back. Fear the Wind leaders back, and then Sensational midfield with cover, Bonjoy, Rush into the Bar, and Alaskan God rounding out the second half of the field. So some very nice horses with a very early eye to this year's Pinnacles and some potential carnival types from a local sense doing battle here. And Bonjoy had a bit against her last start, it's fair to say, boys. Weight swings, 5 weeks between runs off a minor setback, but she was still too good for them, really. And despite being worse off 1.5 kilos rushing to the bar here, she drops 2 kilos off her own back from that effort. And he had her back in running there, and she was pretty comfortably holding him on the line, I thought, over the concluding stages. Bonjoy, and I think Marty, she's going to prove a great measuring stick for Sensational in terms of how far off a couple of our local top liners that he is. In this race on the weekend, with a very similar winning strike rate to her in his career to date. I thought he was outstanding to get up late in the piece last weekend, and I still don't think that muddling tempo suited him. He drops 4 kilos off his back here, off that 7-day spin, and should lob in front of her in running. I thought Bonjoy might potentially even be on his back in running here. Sensational settling in front of her, but while backing up off the 7 days is something new for him, I'm expecting him not only to handle it, but also to measure up in this sort of company as well. But I'm Team Bonjoy, Mark.
Yeah, so you should be.
I'm Team Bonjoy. I'm excited for this race from that sense, just to sort of see where Sensational fits into the picture with a few of these. Fear the Wind was a terrific return of such a long layoff. One off the text line here. Will Morgs be wearing his Fear the Wind lapel pin proudly on the weekend? And I was given one by one of the owners after his first up run, but there certainly they were trying to put the brakes on this horse, already having won pretty much the 2026 Perth Cup. There's a bit of spruik around how he's going at the moment, but pretty hard to hide how good he went. First up off that really long layoff. Was a super return. Fly with Caution tried a lot better recently. He's right back on track after a disappointing run last start. I think he can certainly run you a race from the breeze, given the lack of speed in the race. And what do we do with Own the Queen? What do you do with Own the Queen? It's hard to say with conviction, but I thought she was travelling as well as Bonjoy into the race on straightening last start, when a drifter in betting before Troy Turner just got chopped out for a run at a crucial stage. And I'm not going to go so far to say that she would have been in that finish, but she was certainly travelling into the race. Like with Galloping Room, she was going to have a say, some sort of a say in the finish anyway.
I could have a little sneak each way or place Heavy Antique Miss going on the soft map. The complete forgive last start and the horse's form before that. And certainly back out to the mile no disadvantage either. Right.
Super race. Looking forward to it. The continuing battle, Bonjoy rushing to the bar. Fear the Wind, Sensational. Just going through the grades beautifully. Tough. And Own the Queen, unlucky last start. It's got all the makings of a great Ascot mile. The last event of the day is the Hemlock Stone Perth Cup winner handicap. They are milking this for everything they can. This has been a masterclass from Morley, an absolute masterclass. And he's listening in, he's just chuckling away over the 1,200 metres. And one influencing, well, you went up 18, then you said, well, we'll go to 19 and see if there's anything out there, and bang into 11. Son of the Boss. It is 11 into 6. Lon's Delight, 950. Brimstone, 23. King Cartel, 16. Big Day on it, 51. One guess who trains that. Siberian Siren is $5. Golden Veil, $353.20. Selfless Actors, 18. Trio, $10. Canny Rock, 16 to 12. And Gage Roads, 31 to 20. Might have one here.
I'll give you another few minutes to find that while I read through the bet. Son of the Barsh. Early, they were reasonably keen, the $11. A couple of $200 bets there. 1,000 places at the $2.90 as well, if you don't mind. 400 places, Gage Roads at the $6. King Cartel, 300 at the $15. 200 at the $15 as well. Influencing, couple hundred at the 11. That is a bit of ESP activity.
Mm-hmm.
Can he rock, Mart?
Can he ever?
There's a bit of snipping down there too.
Yeah, felt a bit like...
Would you call that manscaping? If there's snipping for Can he rock? No, okay.
Felt a bit like Martin Dion's the other week by race 11. I was ready to call it early.
Yeah.
And get out of there. But I think Son of the Boss, Barsh, deserves an each-way ticket in the last. I thought he was a super run last start, 1,400 back to the 11 behind all play. He clearly gets along really well with Braden Garth and maps for a super run here from the barrier that he's drawn, and 1,200 metres suits better, dropping back in class from a 72 to a 66. I think I can understand the money there, and think he looks a nice each-way play for a very consistent horse in a race that is pretty even, I would say. No surprise to see Lonsdale rinse and repeat from last start with how he's going. Always a very exciting avenue for your money, Brad, with his pattern of racing. Little trumpet there for the big fella getting that one home last start as well at the price. Golden Vale's a 3-year-old filly taking on the older horses, but don't love the fact she's likely to breeze at 1,200. Just don't see there's any value there at her current price, but the 3-year-olds have... That formula's a very likeable commodity for many punters up against the older horses. But, yeah, there's a few others you could touch on here, but I reckon Son of the Boss looks a nice each-way play to round out the day, Marty.
Okay.
For cheerio to Jimmy Taylor, who'd no doubt be tuning in as well. We've missed talking to Jim on Drive, and hopefully we can be doing it again very soon.
Is he coming good? I think so.
Yeah.
Just be resting up with a Magic Millions catalogue, wouldn't he? Just going through and...
He'd have that one sewn up. Trio, place heavy.
Not for the graphic, though.
No graphic.
I'm Lonsdale's drifting again, so it's going to get me.
That was my best bet of the day. You to tip this again.
And Siberian Siren's going to get me as well. I just might need a touch of luck, but love how this horse is trialling. I know there's been that little, obviously, whether it be setback or whatever, but this is a nice horse going through the grades, and even going back to winter, I think has that D'Amber form, which just holds up in this grade, Mart.
You seem to like the grunts, Brad. Is there some sort of arrangement here where you're just tipping into every horse side by grunt going around in WA at the moment?
It's
one of my favourite pastimes, yeah.
He loves the name. All right, we better get these in the book for you, Rylie, because last week you said, I really like this meeting, and you got involved and really hit some form. So let's go through them again now.
Okay, bear with me. 11 races. Race 2, really
Have you got your quill out, Mart?
Race 2, really like King Adviso and think Comic Hero poses the main threat. So if you're not happy to back King Adviso each way, maybe have a little saver there on Comic Hero, but do like the setup for him. Race number 3, would love to see some $3 Snow God. Happy to hold fire until then. I think he's a really nice horse. Race 4 for the 2-year-olds. Really like what I've seen thus far from Stride Away for Neville Parnham. Happy to butter up with that filly. Race 7, Back and Save, Lost City at your service. Race number 8, another little 2-horse play now that the each-way price has evaporated. Was going to tip Boa Boy each way, but now happy to have a little Dutch bet. Boa Boy and Great Demon in the 8th event on the program. In the feature, race 10, number 3, Bonjoy, and race 11, Son of the Barsh, each way to round out the program, Mart. If you can write that quickly, you've done a good job.
Got it. How about you, McGuane?
Yeah, we got a few.
Yeah, I know. Slowly. You rattle through yours. Come on, let's go.
Okay, race 3, My Aloha, $6.50 each way. Aloha. Race 5, Mart. We're in alignment, Mart. Rocket Juice 550.
Yeah.
Race 5. Race 8, Chino La Diva each way at the $9.
Yeah.
Race 11, I'll be backing both, the way it's looking, I'll be backing both Lons Delete and Siberian Siren. Race 4, Sneaky Aberdeen Flyer at that each way price. I think the wide gate might actually suit this horse. And race 6, Rolls are in a bit of alignment, a sneaky each way out wide bet. We rate you at the $18-ish to run it's going well, so it's ready to salute.
Flush Paddy is sneaky in race number 6.
Oh, that's enough. Come on. Well, you've upset. I like to go chronologically. He gets to race 11 and then goes back to race 4 and 6.
And then after the last Big John's bangers,
he's
Big John's doing a DJ set after the last.
It should be good. Looking forward to that. So Pakenham race 7 is 7 minutes off. We've looked at the board. We'll take a break. Thanks for coming in, Bradley. You've been very good today.
Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed another stimulating episode of Straight Up. All betting markets supplied by Tab Touch. All care, no responsibility went into the production of today's podcast.